Imagine what it would feel like to have your Currie Cup TMO'd. I can tell you, it does not feel like rugby.
Here comes the first angle, Christopher.
Hello and welcome to the fellow week in the Rugby Championship. Unlike the Six Nations, I actually like the break in the RC. It takes travel out of the equation and it makes every block of matches a little mini tour with all the narratives and storylines and things that entails. Would be a real shame if the whole endeavour was put on the back burner for some reason. That's for later though. The past week, the All Blacks have been getting dragged like Cersei, the Wallabies have been daring to hope, and Los Pumas and the Boks have been making awkward eye contact in the Umhlanga mug and bean. All that means that this past weekend we were instead entertained by the Women's Rugby World Cup, and here in SA, the Currie Cup Final was played at Ellis Park, where a whole new generation of fans could be turned to drink. Let's have a look. Friday night, I sat down to finally catch a game involving the Women's Canada rugby team. I heard they were pretty good. What I did not expect to see was one of the best all-round performances ever put on the field by a rugby team. And for the second week in a row, a New Zealand national rugby side was on the receiving end of a side that had every plan, call and bounce go their way. Sorry. Justin Peltier at 9 was having her way with the Black Ferns pillar defenders. She was doing all kinds of little snipes and fake outs to open up unders lines for her teammates to go through. Couple that with ruck speed hitting red line levels and go forward ball was all but guaranteed. By the time New Zealand got into the game, it was too late. And Canada, who had to crowdfund their trip to this World Cup BTW, were into the World Cup final. What a performance. I missed the England versus France game for reasons, but it seems like it was the tightest game England had been involved in for a while. Being within 2 points of them at 57 minutes is almost a win on its own. But as ever, they just passed it to kill done and the kill was done. Sorry, I'll leave. The big final is this coming weekend and we'll see if England can finally win that one match they lost in the last 4 years or something, or if a bunch of Kickstarter nobodies, who all kind of play in England and France anyways, can snatch it from them. Go watch and enjoy. In between the two ladies' games, we all witnessed another bit of crime in the Johannesburg CBD. The Currie Cup Final was held at Ellis Park between the Lions and the Griquas, and a whole bunch of people had their hearts ripped out and trampled upon in broad daylight. Crime! For the second year running, the Lions hosted the Currie Cup after some liberal use of their first team players during the tournament, and for the second year running, Cash van Rooyen was allowed to stink up the coach's box with his loser energy, all while Nkosi was just trying to do his best. He's coaching like 3 teams. Again, we had to sit through 80 minutes of the hosts playing like they hadn't practiced the whole week. And again, we had to watch them become champions for a few joyous seconds, only for it to be taken away by some idiotic extra time penalty. This year, it was even worse because one of those snitching fuckers in the TMO box pulled on Teacher's jersey like some squirming maggot. Whistle blown, kick kicked, and my already emotionally damaged boy's future therapy sessions penned in. And now I get to run across posts of crying Griquas players and synced up shots of Jordan and Whitehead, raising my fucking blood pressure. Congratulations on winning the Currie Cup for the first time in like half a century, Kimberly. I'm so happy for you. And to my boys, congratulations. You get to go on a trip for 3 games in Europe now. Enjoy your cattle class and hot dogs. Fuck news! What's for the news? How about some more pain? Seems Quan Horn hasn't signed on the dotted line just yet. His contract with the Lions runs out in less than a year, and it sounds like he's looking across the Yukskay at Old Man Villy. Maybe he thinks he can put the old horse into the glue factory. Makes sense to me. He'll be playing in a team of way more Springbok stars, including a certain Mr. Pollard, who he can dovetail with in the Bok team. I also figure the URC silver medals are a lot nicer than all those Currie Cup silver medals. Oh yeah, the final bit of news is that the word championship is so last decade. Tours is where it's at right now. We already know that the All Blacks and the Springboks will be touring each other next year and in 2030, and it only makes sense that the Wallabies want in on that action. They also want the Boks and the All Blacks to tour them every now and again, which means the Rugby Championship has fallen out of favour. What a time to be alive. It also makes sense then that Los Pumas would want to have tours with these teams. So I guess we'll all just swap each other around every few years and not have a rugby championship, just 3-match tours, which will probably make more money if the Lions tour is anything to go by. I've said the word tour so much now that it's no longer cool. The rugby championship might still take place in World Cup years because there the calendar is all truncated, and then we can decide who's the best in the Southern Hemisphere. I don't know. What I also don't know is how all of this fits together. I can't work out if the Nations Championship is supposed to start next year or the year after that, or just before the World Cup or just after the World Cup, and when does the Lions tour happen, and what about club championships during these long tours? Because, the Currie Cup happens during the TRC, but now if there's a tour, how will those teams who play the national sides also play in the Currie Cup? And what about the URC? Will it overlap with that? And what about Rugby 360? That's definitely happening. I don't know. These and all other questions we will answer next week. No, we won't, but I'll see you then. Bye.